Welcome to The Explainer. We all know the story of David and Goliath, right? It's the ultimate underdog tale. But how did a young shepherd with, just a sling, really take down a 9-foot-tall armored giant? Well, today we're breaking it all down. The strategy, the psychology, and the incredible lesson behind one of the most famous battles ever. Okay, so let's just start by looking at the tail of the tape here. In one corner, you've got the champion, Goliath, a seasoned 9-foot-tall warrior, absolutely decked out in bronze armor. And in the other corner, the challenger, David, a young shepherd, and his weapon is a simple sling. I mean, the mismatch is so ridiculous, it's almost a joke.
To really get why what happens next is so mind-blowing, we first have to understand the sheer scale of the threat that Goliath represented. He wasn't just some tough opponent. He was a walking, talking weapon of psychological warfare.
So let's break down exactly what the Israelite army was staring at. Goliath stood at a staggering 9 feet 9 inches tall. Think about that for a second. He was basically a walking fortress, covered from head to toe in bronze, carrying a massive javelin and spear. The guy was, by every physical measure you can think of, completely invincible. You see, Goliath wasn't just a physical threat. His real power was the fear he inspired. Let's dig into how his challenge managed to paralyze an entire army. And listen to Goliath's proposition here. This wasn't just, hey, let's fight. It was a winner-take-all ultimatum. He was proposing that this one single fight would decide the fate of 2 entire nations. The stakes could not possibly have been higher, which is exactly why the fear was so intense. And just think about the psychological weight of this. For 40 straight days, Goliath comes out and repeats this challenge. Can you imagine the slow, grinding erosion of morale as an entire army just stands there totally frozen in fear day after day after day? So into this completely hopeless stalemate walks our hero, a young shepherd who isn't even a soldier. And what's so amazing is that he sees this situation in a way that is completely different from anyone else. And this, right here, is the crucial difference. When David looks at Goliath, he isn't scared by the giant's size or his armor. No, he's offended. He's appalled by Goliath's arrogance and his defiance of God. So for David, this isn't a physical calculation at all. It's a spiritual one. He completely reframes the threat in his mind from an unbeatable giant to just an arrogant man who God will not allow to win. So when King Saul questions him, David basically lays out his resume. And he's not bragging, he's just providing the evidence. He explains that he's protected his flock from lions and from bears, and that it was God who delivered them into his hand. For David, this is just simple logic. If God helped him then, of course God is going to help him now. So this all leads to the final decisive moment. The stage is set. This is where 2 completely different ways of seeing the world are about to collide, right there on the battlefield. As he faces the giant, David makes this powerful declaration. He is explicitly reframing the whole battle. He's telling Goliath, look, your strength is in your weapons, but my strength comes from my God. This is the ultimate showdown, faith versus fear, spirit versus steel. And look at this incredible contrast in weapons. David actually refuses the king's heavy armor because he knows it'll just slow him down. Instead, he chooses the simple tools that he has already mastered. And a slinger was a legitimate ranged soldier back then. Against a slow-moving, heavily armored giant, David's speed and his weapon's precision were actually a huge tactical advantage. This isn't just blind faith, it's a really smart strategy. The result was just breathtakingly fast. As Goliath is mocking him, David runs towards the giant, whips a single stone from his sling, and hits him right on the forehead. The unbeatable champion just falls. 1 stone. That's all it took to change history, proving that speed and strategy can absolutely overcome brute force. So why are we still telling this story thousands of years later? What is it about this particular battle? Let's unpack its profound and enduring legacy. The real takeaway here isn't just about a boy beating a giant. It's a powerful metaphor that tells us that the source of our strength, whether that's faith or courage or just a clever idea, can be way more decisive than any physical advantage our opponent seems to have. I mean, the impact of this story is so profound, it has literally become a part of our language. When we talk about facing a Goliath, everybody, everywhere instantly understands what we mean. A massive, intimidating, and what looks like an insurmountable challenge. And this brings us to one last thought-provoking question. This story isn't just some piece of ancient history. It's a framework for confronting our own challenges. So as we wrap up this explainer, it's really worth asking yourself, what's your Goliath? And could a different perspective be the stone in your sling?